I think majority of golfers really don't get it. They don't understand. They hear the word spin, and they see it as a negative, and they think, oh, I'm too high spin. What really affects spin for me, the player can see, is the ball flight. What they think is high isn't high. It's not high enough. And I find most of the time, most players need more spin. So, guys, we're here today to talk about golf ball, particularly the spin of the golf ball. So, Luke, why is spin so important on a golf ball?
Spin plays a really big role on a variety of shots throughout the bag. If you think about our fitting methodology, one area where it can really help is on and around the greens. We think about stopping power, spin is our friend. Shots that we're hitting into the green and with longer clubs, spin can be a tool to keep the ball in the air longer.
How important is that for you, Carl, when you're playing? Do you really concentrate a lot on your spin?
Definitely, yeah. I would say on every shot it's about controlling the spin, also side spin definitely, because it determines the shot shape. The pin location is important in consideration for the spin. So on like every shot, I decide on whether I want to add spin or take spin off. I think we'll come to that later, why it's important and how to do it. But yeah, it depends on the shot, and it's important for distance, ball flight, everything basically.
So you wouldn't say it's just them for the driver, where you concentrate on spin. You're looking more with wedges and mid irons, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
How you want to
exactly.
control your ball flight.
Exactly, yeah.
And Lawrence, how is spin measured? And do we have spin on all shots in the bag or most shots in the bag?
Oh, apart from the putter, there is a little bit of spin, but certainly not worth measuring. What we're after with spin is revolutions per minute. Basically, what the spin does is keeps the ball in the air. Got no spin, it's not going to go in the air. And our spin will give us the right amount of spin, will help us play better golf. But if it's the wrong amount of spin, too low or too much, it can seriously affect the player's round of golf. How would you see that, Carl?
Yeah, I think depending on the club I'm using or a player in general is using, there are different like ranges where the spin should be in order to get the maximum out of the ball or have the best result. So for example, when we talk about a driver, spin should be somewhere between 2000 and 3000 RPM, and going up to a lob wedge where it actually varies depending on the shot I'm hitting. So for example, when I'm hitting a normal wedge, it should be at a certain number, but then I also try to take spin out on different shots. So yeah, I would say, as you said, it can actually affect the result of a shot to like a maximum level. Yeah.
So, Luke, for a normal golfer, club golfer, if they're coming in, let's say with a 7 iron to a green with too low spin, how's that going to affect them? Why is that not good for them?
Yeah, if we think about stopping power, certainly the angle of descent is going to play a role, but it's going to work hand in hand with spin. So if a golfer comes into the green with too little spin, that ball may have a tendency to hit maybe where they want it to on the green, but that ball could end to roll out too much. They could be chipping from behind the green. So that's one potential consequence. Another potential consequence is that the ball doesn't stay in the air long enough and they simply come up short because of a lack of spin.
So, really, a distance control problem and stopping ability. Is that the case with you, Carl, with the driver? If there's too much spin, what happens to you then?
Oh yeah, I've had that case in the past as well. It also depends on the ball, I would say, but definitely depends on the ball. But when it's too much spin, the ball loses so much distance. So that's not nice as a player to see when the ball goes shorter than it could. But then also on the other hand, when it's not enough spin, it'll lose as well because it will just fall from the air. and will not fly as far as possible.
Because you guys work very, very closely on carry distance and not total.
Yeah,
That's why we go by carry, because of the spin characteristic of that golf ball.
yeah,
And if
exactly,
it's the right ball for you, then it should be the right distance.
exactly.
Lawrence, could I ask you? We're fitting golfers today to Pro V1 and Pro V1X. If you see a situation where a golfer is lacking spin, what tool would you turn to? What's a scenario where you would turn to something to reduce the spin as opposed to increase? What would you do golf ball wise to make those things happen?
Golf ball wise, you've got the ball Pro V1X left dash. That will certainly reduce a high swing player's spin. Obviously, it's more to do with their technique than and also their club. Particularly loft plays the major role there. But a Pro V1X left dash will bring your ball down, whereas the Pro V1 is your more sort of all-round ball, and your Pro V1X, that'll give you a different ball flight. But spin is really a lot more to do with the player on the action with the club to the ball. However, we do have the option with the three balls, Pro V1X, left dash, Pro V1, and Pro V1X.
Carl, so thinking about that type of shot into a green, what is it that you choose equipment-wise, whether it's the ball, whether it's the type of irons that you play or shafts to get that optimal spin control coming into the green?
So definitely a good fitting plays a great role on clubs and ball. So for example, when I want a shot to just land and stay at the spot where it landed, definitely needs to have a stock shot where the spin rate and launch and landing angles are in that range where the ball has the same carry distance as total distance, and then I can vary on that depending on what shot I'm hitting or what hole location I'm playing to. So yeah.
And the ball of choice for you?
Oh, it's definitely the Pro V1 for me. I've had fittings in the past for the ball, and for me personally, there's not much difference in the ball. I just like the feeling of the Pro V1 more for me personal. So yeah, that's the ball that works best for me.
Tell us about the different balls we do offer for somebody like Carl, what influence that would have on his game.
Sure. So if we think about all the balls in the Pro V1 family, we have Pro V1, Pro V1X, and Pro V1X left dash. And those golf balls are really the total package. They offer us high spin where we need it, into and around the greens, low spin off the tee, and then really three tailored options for those spin profiles into the green. So Pro V1 being your the jack of all trades. It fits a lot of golfers right in the middle. Pro V1X is a higher spinning golf ball into the green, and Pro V1X left dash, while it does maintain that high flight, is a lower spinning golf ball. So, Carl, you play Pro V1. Could you maybe talk a little bit about how that differentiation between Pro V1, Pro V1X, and Pro V1X left dash led you to playing Pro V1 in the end?
Yeah, so what I've worked on with my coach is to have like medium ball flight, not too high, not too low. And that's a perfect combination with the Pro V1, basically. I want to be able to take spin off, but also give spin, which is perfect for the Pro V1, just because it's right in the range, in the middle, just in between AVX and Pro V1X. I'm not a player who has tons of spin, I'd say. So yeah, that's why the left dash isn't the best fit for me, just because I don't need extra height on the launch, but I need some more spin. But then on the other hand, the Pro V1X just spins a little bit too much and I lose slightly too much distance from using it. And then also it's difficult for me using the Pro V1X to take spin off when playing in the wind, for example, on shots into the wind. What I've experienced a lot in the past. I feel like when playing in the wind, the Pro V1 just stable enough with the spin rate, just because stable spin rate gives me straighter balls into the wind basically, or with side wind, and I can still take spin off, as I said, or add spin when swinging it slightly faster. So it's a great fit for me.
Good. Lawrence, you've been fitting for a long time. Maybe think about your everyday player that you would fit on the road. Are there certain misunderstandings that you see when it comes to your everyday golfer when you talk to them about spin? Are there certain things that maybe are not grasped quickly, but then you are able to explain them and they can see how it can really benefit their game?
That's a very, very good question. I think majority of golfers really don't get it. They don't understand. They hear the word spin, and they see it as a negative, and they think, "Oh, I'm too high spin." What really affects spin for me, to the player can see, is the ball flight. What they think is high isn't high. It's not high enough, and I find most of the time, most players need more spin. Your average golfer needs a lot more spin. But then they're worried about spin with distance. And they misunderstand that without spin, you get no distance. But they think low spin, I'll get more roll. Well, golf isn't played on the ground, is it? It's played in the air. And that's my main, I would say, over the years, has always been the problem. Ball flight and not enough spin on the golf ball, because it's always been seen as, oh, I've got too much spin. But in actual fact, they need a hell of a lot more.
So let's see here, Lawrence. You said there's certain times where you see golfers needing more spin. How have you seen yourself when you talk to them about golf balls? Where does the light bulb moment happen for players where they realize that spin is their friend? Are there certain scenarios that you can think of where they really start to grasp that?
With the partial wedge, three-quarter wedge shot, the stopping power with more spin, and if they're good ground contact, then you'll see a bit of check, or even sometimes, if you're quite skilled, some spin back. And every player wants to see that, don't they? They're on the telly and they see the ball spin back, and then we all love it, don't we? It's doesn't happen to me that often, unfortunately, but I'm sure it does more with you, Carl. But yeah, we're golfers, and we love to see that. But I would say more that than anywhere. That's where you're going to measure it, or see it more than you do with any other club in the bag.
Carl, with you playing on tour and playing with tour conditions, do you see any fellow players who might lack spin coming to the green? Do you see consequences for them, whether it be a lack of stopping power or inability to kind of trust what the ball's doing around the green? What do you see on a tour level with the ball that players choose, and how spin can really help or hurt them?
Yeah, so many players, they choose the Pro V1 or the Pro V1X just because they perform so well, and spin basically on tour condition courses is everything, just because greens are getting firmer, faster. So whenever you're not able to stop the ball on the green, for example, with a long iron, you'll always be chipping. Doesn't matter how big the green is, basically. And then where it matters the most, I would say, is on wedge shots and around the greens, short game shots, just because that's where the tour players are so much better than I think amateur golfers can imagine. So they don't really want the ball to come back too much, depending on the hole location, obviously. But whenever they do, for example, 50-yard shots around the greens, they basically try to get enough spin to stop the ball where it landed, as far as that's possible. And then on full wedges, on like distance wedges, they just try to have the number and the ball, for example, bounce and then spin back to where it landed, just because, as Lawrence said, golf is a game that's played in the air, and they just try on every shot to have the ball stay where it landed, because that's what they can calculate and plan their shot with.
I think, Lawrence, it was you or I or our fitters having a conversation recently about how tour players play many different conditions
Yeah.
depending on the time of year and location, and how almost without fail they play the same golf ball regardless of where they're playing. Do you fall into that bucket? And if so, why do you stick with the same ball even though you might be playing in drastically different conditions?
Just because, I'm playing the Pro V1 all year round. Just because I use it every day in practice, I'm used to it, and I know how it performs. And then I can just choose different types of shot for each condition. For example, when I have a firm green, I just try to maximize the spin and get it to stop more quickly rather than bounce through. And then when I play in Germany, for example, where the greens are quite soft all year round, I then try to take spin off, because that's what I can practice all year round with my ball with the Pro V1, and I can get that consistency and practice to then be able to perform on the course, take spin off or add spin depending on the green firmness.
I think it's very important to have that consistency, isn't it? Knowing
Yeah.
what your golf ball's going to do.
Yeah,
And that's why it's so important to play just one ball.
yeah, exactly.
When otherwise, was it the shot or was
Yeah.
it the golf ball?
Yeah,
But unfortunately, I have to play Pro V1X. I need spin and height and distance. So, guys, to really understand spin better in your game, how can we get better control in our game through spin?
so it's definitely important to choose the right club and the right technique for the shot that's required. For example, taking less loft reduces spin, taking more loft adds spin. So you can, for example, swing slower with less loft and you'll take off so much spin, which is important for me. For example, when I have a pin location in the back, I use that technique to reduce spin and have it bounce a little bit more to attack the flag, basically. Or when I have a pin short in the green, I try to take the club I would use maybe or less club and swing it harder to add speed and then land it past the flag and have it come back a little bit in the best case. So that's the choices we have in order to control the spin more.
So, using the right club to get the right amount of spin
Yeah.
will give you the control you want.
Exactly.
Can you ever have too much spin, Luke?
Certainly. There's an ideal window for each club and the shot you're trying to execute. So I think we can all, visually, if you think of a shot that you've hit in the past that's perhaps ballooned in the wind, come up a handful of paces short of the green. If you're a player who generates too much spin, that might have been the reason for that result. So yeah, if a golf ball is doing that, or if you're having a full wedge in your hands and you're seeing it come back to you too much, those could certainly be symptoms of having too much spin. Though maybe not all that common. Those are a couple telltale signs of where you have too much spin.
And there's a thing called the spin mountain. Lots of people talk about that.
The spin slope.
Spin slope.
The spin
Sorry, I
slope.
apologize.
So if we think about, with the 25th anniversary of Pro V1, that kind of revolutionized how golfers think about spin in their game. So, prior to a solid core golf ball with a urethane cover, golfers really had to wrestle with the choice of, do I choose a distance ball or do I choose a golf ball that provides me short game spin and control? And really the well-rounded nature of Pro V1 made players not have to choose between one of those, because on our shots where we're swinging the fastest with driver, we're having the lowest amount of spin to produce distance. And of course, as we increase loft and get shots coming into the green, we're going to have more spin, and it's super important when we get to slower speeds around the green.
Yeah.
We need the highest rate of spin there. So it's really the best of both worlds in terms of Pro V1 and Pro V1X, in terms of how players, no longer had to choose distance or control,
Yeah.
one or the other.
That's a very, very good point. But when you're trying to go low, Carl, on the round, obviously, to do that, you've got to get birdies.
Yeah.
So, through spin, how can spin help you get birdies?
So as I said before, it's super important in order to attack flags. For example, in tournaments I play, there won't be that many flags that are middle of the green. Every flag is either back and on the edge of the green or front and on the edge. So I use shot shapes and also height of the ball,
Oh.
which I create through the right amount of spin in order to get the ball close to the flag. And then if the um, if the line is right of the shot, I'll most of the time have the right distance in order to hold birdie putts, or at least give me the chance of holding birdie putts.
So the good old cliche drop and stop. So
Exactly.
you try and shoot it as close as you can to the pin.
Exactly.
Stops with the right amount of spin.
Exactly.
And you're giving yourself a chance.
Yeah, I'll hopefully make the most birdies I can get out there.
Carl, clearly you've seen the benefit of spin in your game and the confidence that comes from playing the same golf ball all the time. If you had advice to an everyday golfer that you see, a dedicated golfer who's looking to get better, how would you tell them to embrace spin in their game? Where do you think they could benefit the most, and where they can shave strokes off their game? Is it simply a matter of consistency, or do you think there's a certain shot in the bag where the light bulb's going to come on and say, "Spin is my friend"?
I'd say there's not a certain shot. Definitely short game, just the control. But then I'd say if you understand spin and how it works, it'll help you have so much more distance control in long game, from driver up to distance wedges, just because having a consistent spin rate is basically everything in order of having the right distance control. And then I'd say around the greens, it's very important, just because it matters which shot you choose for the short game shot, and then you'll have the control of the spin in order to get it close, and that will help you optimize your game, basically.
Lawrence, today we're fitting golfers, and we're primarily fitting with new 2025 Pro V1 and Pro V1X. We have TrackMan. We have data at our fingertips. If a golfer doesn't have the opportunity to hit shots on TrackMan or see data, where would you tell them to go on the golf course to see the benefit of spin in their game? Would you tell them, hey, hit driver first? Would you go to the other side of the bag and say, compare what you play with something like Pro V1? What shots would you tell a golfer to play around with?
I would always tell a golfer to start always green to tee. Always start at the putting green. Chip in, you'll see the board. Does it bite? Does it stop? Does it roll? Half wedges, you're going to see the ball flight. Stopping power for sure. Then move on back, maybe a 7-iron. I think where most average golfer could actually take advantage is look at the second half of the flight of the golf ball. First half is taken over by the attack angle and the second half, and the ball speed, sorry, and the second half is mainly spin. So if there's too much spin, it's just going to go up on them, and if it's too low, it will just drop out the air. So if they see a good ball flight, consistent good ball flight, then they're pretty much on the right track. So without a trapman, they're going to be very, very close. And obviously it's the same with the driver. And you look at a ball flight, it's so, so important.
And Carl, you could probably attest to this, but with Titleist and talking about spin, we're trying to help golfers play their best. And a lot of this comes down to proximity to the hole. We could look at percentage of putts that pros or amateurs make from, let's say, 3 feet, 6 feet, 9 feet, and the percentages drop off in a pretty steep manner the further away you get. So when you think about some of the best rounds that you've played, would you tie that back to how close to the hole you've gotten on approaches or on your short game shots?
I'd say for me, I've always had my strength in approach shots. So whenever I played my lowest rounds, it were just the rounds where I hold the most putts, basically, because the level of approach shots is usually on a quite high level. So whenever the putter gets hot, I usually go low.
That's always good, isn't it?
Yeah,
Well, the scoring zone, as I call it.
yeah,
That's where most of over 50% of golf is played.
yeah,
And if you haven't got the right golf ball with the right spin,
exactly.
pretty hard to do.
Exactly. The spin consistency and control about the golf ball only gives me the chance of holding putts and being able to make birdies and then go low in the end and hopefully win the tournament.
Learn to trust your ball.
Exactly.